Hello everyone, Nubkeks here. If you're on the North American servers, I hope you're already enjoying patch 9.0.5. Over here, it's nighttime in EU, and we don't get our patch until tomorrow morning. So I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs, and I was just browsing through all the stuff for the patch, and I was already looking through myself. What are the best covenants for the different specs? I was like, let's actually figure it out. And certainly I was thinking about my alts and what covenant would I actually choose on my alts. And I said, hey, Nubkeks, you're a freaking YouTuber. Go make a video on this instead of just doing it by yourself. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. We're obviously going through the Wowhead guides. I'm not going to BS you guys and pretend that I know like the specs better than these experts do. But what I will do, which these specs don't cover, which might be helpful, is, again, I'm going to give you my thoughts for what covenant I would pick as someone that likes playing lots of different aspects of the game, right? So for example, we can look at Blood DK and we can get rankings for what is the best covenant for raiding, what is the best covenant for Mythic Plus. But what do we do with that information? Like, what if I want to do both? What if I want a PvP? What if I also want to play a bit of, Frost DK, a bit of Unholy DK too? That's a lot of stuff to consider. How do I weigh it up? I'll give you my opinion and you can do it with that what you will. Let's get going then. All right, Blood DK. First up, Blood DK. And bearing in mind, there was a lot of Covenant tuning for nearly all the different classes here in 9.0.5, which is just, again, coming live. Just live or coming live wherever you are in the world. Kyrian comes in as excellent, Necrolord and Venthyr as great, and Nightfae is good for raiding Blood DKs. For Mythic Plus, though, it is different. Nightfae is poor. Kyrian is good, Necrolord is great, Venthyr is great to excellent. Interesting stuff. So, I mean, Nightfae is off the table for them. Necrolord is great in both counts. Kyrian is excellent or good. And then Venthyr is a more consistent great and great to excellent. I personally, again, for Blood DK, I personally like Swarming Mist the best. It is actually the most popular option here. 45%. This gives you Swarming Mist. That 1 minute cooldown gives you dodge, does AoE damage, and generates runic power. Very good in AoE, quite weak in single target. There's not that many single target bosses, and for the AoE in dungeons, I think it's pretty nice. So that would be my pick so far for Blood DK. Let's grab Frost and Unholy DK as well. Let's go. So for Frost DK, let's see how this goes, because they did buff Nightfae. So for Frost DK, there's actually quite a lot going on here with the dual wield Breath of Sindragosa build. Nightfae and Kyrian are great. Venthyr and Necrolord are good for raiding. And Mythic Plus, Venthyr and Nightfae are great, and Necrolord and Kyrian are good. So I'd say Nightfae is the winner there, being great in both. For dual wield Obliteration, Necrolord is good, Venthyr okay, Nightfae, Kyrian are great. Good, okay, great, and okay. So again, Nightfae the winner, being great in both circumstances. For two-handed Obliteration, this is where Kyrian pulls ahead, two-handed Obliteration. But actually, it falls off a lot in Mythic Plus right there. So again, I would say kind of overwhelmingly Nightfae if you're looking to play this. Interestingly enough, dual wield Breath of Sindragosa, if you're going with Venthyr from Blood DK, you kind of forced into Breath of Sindragosa to make Venthyr good. Venthyr's not great. It's only okay with the Obliteration build. So that's interesting. That could affect it. What about for Unholy DK? Expecting Necrolord to be the best one here. Necrolord and Venthyr are great. Nightfae, Kyrian are good. For Mythic Plus, Necrolord and Venthyr are great. Nightfae and Kyrian are good. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. So for me personally, I would say as a DK, I personally would choose Venthyr. I would choose Venthyr now for this patch. I think it's overall the most versatile one for Blood DK, and I do like tanking. I think it's also good for Breath of Sindragosa, and I'm fine with Breath of Sindragosa. It's bad for Obliterate Frost DK. That's the big downside there. And then it's just really good for Unholy as well, which is awesome. I would also consider Necrolord, obviously being a good option. Necrolord is great, just generally for Blood DK. Necrolord is good for basically, it's good for all of the Frost DK builds, and it's great for Unholy. So Necrolord, getting those grabby hands in, that's pretty cool too. I kind of like the idea with Venthyr. Do we have the abilities here? Abomination Limb, right? It's the big 2 minute cooldown, grab people in. Very, very cool. I personally like playing with shorter CDs myself, so I quite like the 1 minute Swarming Mist. But there you go. There's my opinion. I put Venthyr as my first choice, Necrolord as my second choice for DK personally. But again, it depends on what you like and where you want to play, and so on. Let's take a look at Demon Hunters then. They got a big change to Necrolord. Let's see how this affects them. So for Havoc Demon Hunter, for raiding, Venthyr and Night Fae are strong, Necrolord is good, and Kyrian is only decent. For Mythic Plus, Kyrian is strong, Necrolord's only decent, Night Fae is good, and Venthyr is good to strong. All right. Looking then at Vengeance. For raid, Kyrian is excellent, Necrolord is mediocre, Night Fae and Venthyr are decent. And then for Mythic Plus, Kyrian is excellent, Necrolord is mediocre, Night Fae is underwhelming to decent, and Venthyr is excellent to decent. This is a pretty tough choice. I think for me, this one definitely depends on how seriously you want to do tanking, because obviously Kyrian stands out as by far the best one for Vengeance Demon Hunter. But if you're only like a casual tank, if you play a bit but you're not too into it, well then, you know, Venthyr actually competes really, really well with Kyrian in those lower keys. It's actually really good as well. So that could be a good option. And Venthyr is just generally strong for the Havoc Demon Hunters as well. So yeah, I think it's a toss-up, you know. Honestly, for me, if I was choosing right now, I would choose Kyrian. That's what I will say. I would choose Kyrian because it is overall better for Vengeance, which I would like to play, and it's really good for Havoc in AoE. It's obviously going to fall behind Venthyr for Havoc and single target in raiding, but for me personally, having played Havoc Demon Hunter at the end of BFA in raiding, that's not something I personally am that interested in. I much prefer them in more AoE world content where you can really zip around and blow stuff up and have fun. So I would go for Kyrian, and I put Venthyr as a second choice. Looks like the buffed Necrolord is not actually doing all that well. So that's a bit disappointing. It still doesn't seem, again, check for updates. This might update as people get to play it more, but right now it doesn't seem all that good. Let's look at Druids then. What's best for Druids? Druids. For Guardian Druids. Okay, Kyrian is great, Necrolord is great, Night Fae is amazing, and Venthyr is average in raids. In Mythic Plus, Kyrian is good to great, Necrolord is good, Night Fae is great, and Venthyr is good. So overall, Night Fae is definitely winning there. For Feral Druid, I'm expecting Night Fae to win everywhere here, but I might be surprised. Yeah, no, not too surprised here. For Feral, best one is Night Fae. Kyrian is good, the other two are mediocre. For Mythic Plus, Night Fae is best, Venthyr, Kyrian are good, and Necrolord straight up bad. That's okay. I really don't like the Necrolord ability for Druids. I'll show it to you in a second. Yeah, Necrolord is poor, Venthyr's okay, Night Fae is best. Kyrian situationally good. For Balanced Druids, raiding. That Convoke the Spirits, not nerfed, so still pumping damage, massive single target burst. For Mythic Plus, Kyrian is good to great. Venthyr is great to good. Night Fae is good to situationally strong, and Necrolord is poor. So again, in higher level Mythic Plus, I guess that single target burst, interesting. I guess not valued as much. I think it's still obviously situationally strong. It's going to help you with Prideful, it'll help you with bosses. But Night Fae actually, Kyrian, pulls ahead a bit. It looks like for just amping up just your general damage overall, I suppose. Quite intriguing. But yeah, I have to say I'm definitely not a fan at all of the of Adaptive Swarm. It's a short cooldown, which I like, but it's just a bit clunky bouncing around. It doesn't feel that impactful, even with the newly buffed Fleshcraft. Convoke the Spirits, in contrast, is super fun. It feels amazing. So yeah, checking out then Resto Druids. Again, this one is yeah, okay. So Night Fae, fantastic with Convoke the Spirits. Venthyr is actually good, strong, but long cooldown there. And then the other two are only average. For Mythic Plus then, Kindred Spirits is a decent tank cooldown, but weak offensively. Necrolord is strong single target tank, but weak offensively. Night Fae is strong for both things, and Venthyr is strong for both things. I have to say, this one is probably the most... the class, I should say, the class that still needs the most balance, because for me, there's only one real choice with Druids. I'm not even going to give you a particular second option. I think Night Fae. For me, it's Night Fae all the way. I wouldn't bother playing anything else. I think the theme of the Covenant fits the Druid. I think it's the most fun Covenant ability probably in the entire game. Convoke the Spirits is super fun to play with if you've played it. Soul Shape is fun. The Transmog looks great on Druids, and it's also the best one for literally every spec and basically in almost every situation. So, yeah, Night Fae for Druids. Sorry if you were hoping for more of a shakeup like lots of other classes got. Doesn't seem to have come through. Let's take a look at Hunter. Will they break free from their Night Fae tyranny? Let's see. Let's find out. So, for Beast Mastery Hunters, their best raid Covenants, Night Fae is excellent, Kyrian is good, and the other two aren't great. In Mythic Plus, Night Fae is excellent, Kyrian is still good, and the other two are poor. So it's very clear choice here, really, again, for Beast Mastery Hunter. That hasn't changed 9.0.5. For Marksmanship Hunter, again, Death Chakram was buffed a lot, Venthyr was buffed a lot, and the Fleshcraft redesign, how has it impacted? Especially considering that... I would say Flayed Shot proccing kill shots. Marksmanship can talent into that, and it can do well. It's still not looking great, though. At least not yet. Night Fae still looking the best, with Kyrian being good. The other two are okay, but probably more single-target focused. They're going to fall behind in any fights where you've got multiple ads, which is most fights have some ads coming in. For Mythic Plus, then, Night Fae and Kyrian are both great, and Necrolord and Venthyr are both poor. It's pretty much mirroring identically the Beast Mastery, where Night Fae is the clear winner with Kyrian second best, and then the other two are you probably steer clear. Let's see then for the Survival Hunter, for those of you that exist. Night Fae is great, Kyrian is good, and the other two are poor. Night Fae is great for Mythic Plus, Kyrian is good, and the other two are poor. So, yeah, it looks like no big changes coming through for you Hunters in 9.0.5. If you're looking to pick the best Covenant, gameplay-wise, pretty much across all of your specs, in all forms of content, maybe not PvP, but certainly in all PvE content, Night Fae is best. Kyrian is a decent second option, and the other two Covenants are still pretty much better avoided. So, yeah. Mages then, we have like the trifecta here of classes that have been overwhelmingly Night Fae, right? Let's see if anything has changed here. Interesting. Best Covenants for Arcane Mage. Night Fae is excellent, but Venthyr and Necrolord are very good. Kyrian is only mediocre. When we go into Mythic Plus, this is where Night Fae pulls ahead more, giving you that AoE burst CD with shifting power, which also gives you lots of cooldown reduction, which helps you get into your burst on more pulls, more packs. That sort of adds up. So yeah, Night Fae is very much excellent there. Venthyr is poor to good, gets better in higher keys. Kyrian is just decent to poor, and Necrolord is just decent. So again, as an Arcane Mage, I would certainly you'd be leaning towards Night Fae. I think no question really for PvE. For Fire Mage, this one is interesting. Look at that. Best Covenant for Raid for Fire Mage is actually swapped. Night Fae is great, but Necrolord is apparently now great as well. Venthyr and Kyrian are both good with their buffs. When it comes to Mythic Plus, this is again where Night Fae pulls ahead a bit more. It's great. Necrolord's only decent. Kyrian is now poor, and Venthyr is good. So that's kind of interesting. That is kind of interesting. Necrolord is close to Night Fae. Interesting. Due to Emily's passive stat buff provided by the Soulbind Lead by Example and the buffs to Deathborn in 9.0.5. So I think they've upped it from a 20 to a 25 second duration. I think they've upped the spell power from 10% to 15%, I think. They only has one suitable Soulbind. Intriguing. Very intriguing. So Necrolord actually comes forward as a decent option if you want to mix it up on Fire Mage if you really hate Night Fae. Personally, though, I would still choose Night Fae. Finally, let's look at Frost. This is the Mage spec, which has been different. And as we can see, Venthyr is excellent for them in raiding. Night Fae is only mediocre, and then the other two are great. So, in fact, for Frost Mage, Night Fae is the worst one. This has actually been something, the barrier for Frost Mages to get into raiding, because most mages, Fire Mage is considered the best mage spec. So, if you've got Night Fae for Fire Mage, and Night Fae is the worst Frost Mage spec, that makes it even harder to try out a spec which is considered to be worst if you've got a Covenant which was worst for it, right? In Mythic Plus, though, Night Fae is actually excellent in low keys, only decent in high keys. Venthyr goes from decent in low keys to excellent in high keys. Necrolord's only decent. and Kyrian is mediocre to poor. So yeah, again, if I was choosing for my mage, I would personally be going for Night Fae. I do think that Mirrors of Torment is actually pretty cool, right? Where you do the casting 1.5 minutes cooldown, you put 3 mirrors on the target, and this has been changed. This tooltip is wrong, but in 9.0.5 now, it's going to give you clear casting. As an Arcane Mage, it's going to give you 6 seconds cooldown reduction on Fire Blast, and Frost gives you Brain Freeze. I think that's pretty fun. That's a pretty awesome ability, and I do like the Venthyr theme for Mage. I think that's cool. I do really like Shifting Power, though. I think this is super fun. I love channeling the spell, pulsing out that damage, and then reducing your Mage cooldowns, all of them, and sort of the plays that you can make with that, I think is just really interesting. So, yeah, I'd be going for Night Fae, but I would actually strongly consider Venthyr as well on my mage, personally. Necrolord doesn't do it for me. I don't like turning into the skeleton mage. I think it's really ugly, personally, and I don't like it, even though it has been buffed a lot. It's cool. And Fleshcraft is way better now as well, but, I mean, you've got 5 billion. I counted 5 billion, actually, is how many defensives you have as a mage. Let's look at monks. Monks, then. Brewmaster first. Kyrian is the best. Necrolord and Night Fae are only decent, and Venthyr is poor for raiding. That is quite, that's quite stark. When we go into Mythic Plus, it's a bit better, a lot better, actually. Kyrian is still the best, but at least Necrolord and Night Fae are now considered to be great. Venthyr is still poor. Okay. Of course, the Kyrian ability. I should do this more often. The Kyrian ability for monks, I'm in the way. Can I find a tooltip that's not as much in the way without going into a different screen? I can. Weapons of Order, your 2-minute cooldown that gives you powers you up for 30 seconds, buffs your mastery, and then for Brewmaster, this makes your Keg Smash be instantly reset, and then people that you hit with Keg Smash take more damage. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Simple, strong, and versatile. It's always competitive. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's fairly Kyrian dominant there for Brewmasters, and I do really like Brewmaster, one of my favorite tanks, so I'd quite like to play that. For Mistweaver monks, Kyrian and Necrolord are both amazing. Night Fae is great and Venthyr is decent. In Mythic Plus, Kyrian is amazing, Necrolord is great, Night Fae and Venthyr are only decent. So it's actually pretty stable across the board there. Again, Kyrian really coming through as the best option. Will Windwalker shake it up with any of these changes here? Nice picture, dude. Oh no, it's even worse. Kyrian is best in bold, capitals, and underlined. Okay, for rating, Kyrian is best. Necrolord's only decent, and Night Fae is good. Venthyr is bad. When it comes to Mythic Plus, it does switch up a bit. So Kyrian's only good in low keys, it's great in high keys. Then Necrolord and Night Fae are just great across the board, and Venthyr is bad. Venthyr Monk is one of my least favorite Covenant abilities, I have to say. I really don't like it. Fallen Order, you press the button, and then it's just gonna, over 24 seconds, just keep spawning in these random dudes. They're just gonna do stuff, but you don't really interact with it in any way. I guess it looks kind of cool. And it looks sort of double cool because apparently nobody plays Venthyr as monk, like 3%. But yeah, I have to say, having looked at this is, again, worse than I thought it would be. I know our monk, actually, Mistweaver, plays Necrolord for raid. And he likes it a lot, I think. But yeah, I would definitely be going for Kyrian with my monk. And I personally don't actually like the Necrolord ability all that much. Like, it's only okay. It's like the Bone Dust Brew, ground targeted, throw it on the ground. It's okay. I would just go Kyrian personally. I quite like the aesthetic. I kind of like the idea of this sort of pure monk. I don't know. So there you go. I would definitely go Kyrian for monk. Paladins. Paladins. This is an interesting one. So Necrolord got buffed a lot, but it's still not looking hot. Best Covenants for Holy Paladins. A lot of people might not know this, but because Kyrian is probably so popular, let's actually see. Oh my lord, Kyrian is 87.7%. I think a lot of that comes from the theme, and it is a super fun ability. Let's not lie here. Divine Toll, 1 minute cooldown, just Holy Shock 5 targets, awesome. Fills up your holy power, does a big burst of healing, short cooldown. It's fantastic, really good Covenant ability. For rating, though, it's great. It's actually equal to Venthyr. They're both great. And then Necrolord and Night Fae are poor. When it goes to Mythic Plus, Kyrian pulls a bit ahead. It's great. Venthyr's only decent. The other two are poor. I really do like Ashen Hallow. It's different. I like it because it's different. I kind of hated it because it was a 4 minute cooldown at first. But now I kind of like it just because that is it's such a bold choice. But a 4-minute cooldown, it just put this Ashen Hallow down, this massive AoE on the ground for 30 seconds, does loads of AoE damage, loads of AoE healing, and it lets you do these Hammers of Wrath outside of Avenging Wrath outside of Execute, doing double damage. It's awesome. Really good burst cooldown. It was the choice for Race to World first, purely because it did so much damage, and also did a bunch of healing as well during that cooldown window. But yeah, I mean, personally, I might almost go Venthyr so far on Paladin. We'll see, though, if the other Paladin specs change my mind. Just to be a bit different, you know? Just to be a bit different. When it comes to Protection Paladin, interesting. So, Necrolord and Nightfey are only average. Kyrian, though, is above average. Venthyr is actually great for raiding. So, Venthyr considered the best raiding covenant for Prot Paladin. When it comes to Mythic Plus, Kyrian is great in general and fortified. It's unmatched, but only for necrotic. So it's just generally great, and it's incredible for necrotic. I guess because I'm not sure why. I guess I know why. It's because the flask, just the signature ability that's available to every single class that is Kyrian. The file, I guess, clears necrotic stacks. So there you go. Necrolord, that's what it must be, right? Necrolord, low keys, average, Nightfey, average. Venthyr is generally average. In Tyrannical, it's excellent for that boss burst damage. I'm kind of leaning towards Venthyr for Paladin. I didn't think I would do this, but I'm kind of liking it. Ret Paladin. Ret Paladin swings this the other way. Kyrian is strong. Necrolord underwhelming. Nightfey and Venthyr only decent. For Mythic Plus, Kyrian is strong. Necrolord's underwhelming. Nightfey and Venthyr only decent. It's a tough choice. I honestly, I'm going to say, for me, it's sort of 50-50. For me, it's which covenant do you prefer more? And do you want the 1-minute cooldown, which is overall a little bit better? Or do you want the big 4-minute cooldown that maybe shines a bit more in raid fights, shines a bit more in tyrannical bosses and Mythic Plus? It's probably horrible to use in PvP. It kind of depends what you like. I'm kind of 50-50, Kyrian, Venthyr. I could go either way, honestly, for Paladin. And that sort of surprises me. Because as you saw, when you looked at the Paladin stats, it's like almost 90% Kyrian. So there you are. Looking then at Priest, this is what I play. So for a Discipline Priest in Raid, Venthyr is great, Nightfey is poor, Necrolord is decent, and Kyrian is good. For Mythic Plus, Kyrian is great, Necrolord is good to decent, Nightfey is excellent, and Venthyr is good. I'm going to go through these kind of quickly for Priest, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end, because obviously I play Priest, so I already know what I think about this one. For raiding, for Holy Priests, Kyrian and Venthyr are good, Necrolord and Nightfey are great. For Mythic Plus, Kyrian is good to decent, Necrolord is good and good, just good, Nightfey is incredible, and Venthyr is good and good. And for Shadow Priest, for raiding, Venthyr is only decent, Kyrian is great, Nightfey is great, Necrolord is good, and for Mythic Plus, Kyrian and Venthyr are decent, and Necrolord and Nightfey are great. So, I have switched to Nightfey on Priest. I like Nightfey the best. You can see actually that Shadow Priests are actually overwhelmingly Venthyr. I was actually Venthyr, and I think Ventyr's really good. And certainly, if you are playing Disc in Raid, I would 100% say go Venthyr, right? If you go Nightfey on Disc, it's going to be bad. I swapped as soon as we killed Mythic Sludgefist, and I was like, okay, I'm not playing Disc I'm not playing Disc on Stone Legion Generals. I'm not playing Disc on Denathrius Mythic, so I don't need to be Venthyr anymore for this. Venthyr is also amazing with Mind Games. It's also incredible for PvP. So you put a debuff on people, and then it reverses. It turns the next massive chunk of healing they do into damage to their target, and it turns the next chunk of damage into healing. It's fantastic. It's super good. I really miss Mind Games in PvP. Yeah, Nightfey is just incredible, though. Fey Guardians, which actually got buffed. So this gives you a 20-second buff. It's on a 1.5 minute cooldown. It's going to make you restore mana or sanity for Shadow. on your whatever target you're hitting with Shadow Word Pain, the most recent target. Guardian Fairy got buffed. It's going to give 20% damage reduction, which follows your Power Word Shield. That's very useful as a personal survivability thing. And it's also very nice, actually, for Holy Priest in particular to slap on a tank or slap on a player that's taking a lot of single target damage, because otherwise Holy Priest really struggles with that. They don't have a damage reduction cooldown. Fey Guardians gives you one, although it's a little bit weird to use, but it is usable. The big thing is the Benevolent Fairy, which gives double cooldown recovery rate for 20 seconds, which is insane. This is amazing for Shadow, because with Shadow, your major cooldown is Void Form, which is 1 minute 30 cooldown. You can bring it to almost a 1 minute cooldown with Fey Guardians, with Night Fae, which is super strong. That syncs up much better with your Power Infusion. It syncs up much better with several different fights in the raid. So yeah, it's also amazing for Mythic Plus as well. Get more frequent Void Forms. Again, as one of the healing priests in Mythic Plus, the reason that it really shines here, even on Disc where it's terrible for raiding, it's really good for Mythic Plus, because it gives you mana return, which is nice. You can use it to get back mana, and you can also use it to reduce, go in with a Fire Mage and reduce their combustion by 20 seconds while you're also power infusing them, and you are like their best friend. And Holy Priest does the exact same thing. So yeah, Night Fae is my recommendation for Priest. I consider Venthyr a second if you're more PvP player. Or if you're a Discipline Priest main, I would go Venthyr. If you're a Holy Priest main, or like for me, I'm playing Shadow Priest and Holy Priest right now. Shadow and Holy, so Night Fae is a no-brainer. What is the popularity? I'm kind of curious. Wow, Night Fae is really unpopular. I expect this to change, guys. Expect this to change. Even more so, especially for sure. Wow, it's really unpopular. Wow. That's crazy. Expect it to change. This is going to change. I guarantee this will change. Yep, guarantee this will change. I'm actually kind of shocked that it's so unpopular. I really am. Let's look at rogues. They got a lot of changes. So let's see what's going on here. I actually got my rogue to level 60 today. So tomorrow morning, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to hop on and I am going to record gameplay of their reworked Necrolord and Venthyr Covenants. I guess the order is going to be important because I'm going to be stuck then. I'll have switched because I'm actually in Kyrian right now. So I'll be in whichever one I finish on, or Night Fae, which I don't want to be in my rogue. Don't be the best one. Well, it's not for raiding here. Okay, cool. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so Covenants for Assassination Rogue. For raiding, they're all good, but Venthyr is great. For Mythic Plus, they're all good, but Night Fae is great. Oh, you hate to see it. Night Fae coming in. Okay. The interesting thing here is, again, in 9.0.5, we'll talk about this more in tomorrow's video, but Flagellation has been reworked. You no longer have to do this reactivate Flagellation thing. Instead, it just does an instant big chunk of damage now, and then just whenever you spend combo points during that Flagellation window, it's just going to instantly give you stacks and stacks of haste. Pretty awesome. Pretty fantastic. Numerically, the strongest single target Covenant we going into 9.0.5. Cool. That's it. Any Covenant's fine. The differences are smaller than before. Okay, this is literally the ideal of what Covenants are supposed to be, so that's great news. Necrolord's got a buff to the initial damage of Serrated Bone Spike, so Serrated Bone Spike now just straight up does more damage, but it's not going to refund charges when a target is healed to full. I think it still does the refund when a target dies, so this is particularly strong in AoE, but by doing much more damage up front now, it's now better in single target as well, so it's quite overall good. I think this is a tough choice because for me, they're obviously all good. They're all fine. They're all fine. Necrolord, I mean, they're still actually good in Mythic Plus. It's not that far ahead for Assassination. What about Outlaw? Outlaw Rogue. Show me. They're all just good for Raid, and they're all good, but Necrolord pulls ahead for Mythic Plus. Okay, Necrolord pulls ahead for Mythic Plus. I think that's interesting. I think that's the best AoE Covenant, because the damage translates into Blade Flurry. Your single target attacks will also do 40% normal damage in AoE, and they buffed the initial damage. Okay. And then a damage reduction in Fleshcraft is also really useful. Yeah. That's interesting. Ooh, we're learning. Okay, what about Sub-Rogue? Okay, Sub-Rogue, they're all good. Venthyr is great, the best one for raids. For Mythic Plus, ooh, Night Fae is actually the best one. Man, this is tough. I think Rogues, this is their Covenant situation, I think, is really improved, obviously. It's really improved a lot. Yeah, it really has improved a lot. For me, it kind of depends on which rogue specs you want to play the most. I would say if your focus is Outlaw, it's looking like Necrolord's the best. If your focus is Mythic Plus on Assassination or Sub, then Night Fae is going to be the best. If your focus is more on raiding, then Venthyr is going to be the best. But they're not going to be none of the Covenants are going to be far behind. They're not going to be far behind. I think I lean maybe towards Night Fae. I have to play with the Necrolord one a bit more because Bone Spike is obviously the most involved of their abilities. It's much more involved, and Flagellations kind of oppress it, and you get rewarded for getting as many combo point spenders into that window as you can. So rated Bone Spike with the charges and giving you more combo points the more active Bone Spikes you have, and getting refreshes when people die. There's a lot of gameplay there, which is pretty cool. Night Fae, do they even have the Covenant abilities here? Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed, surprisingly enjoyed a Kyrian with Assassination Rogue as well, which I have been playing. This just does a big chunk of upfront damage, and then it anima charges one of your combo points. It gives you a bunch of combo points when you use this ability, which is cool. And then if you hit your anima charge combo point exactly, it fires off a finishing move for damaging one, as if it had 7 combo points in it. So it's super powerful in Venom or Eviscerate or whatever. It's actually really fun. It's actually great. I quite like it. Don't like Sepsis. 1.5 minute cooldown. You just put a dot on them and then whatever. You know, if they survive, you gain 1 use of any stealth ability and like, don't care. Get out of here. So I'm torn actually on this one. I actually like all of them. I think it comes down to which aesthetic you like the most. I'm slightly leaning towards Necrolord right now. But that might be purely because I was Venthyr for ages on my Priest. So Necrolord is a little bit different. And I have to say, I really like their armor set with leather. It's the really weird one. So yeah, I quite like that. Let's look at Shaman then. Elemental Shaman got a lot of changes actually in 9.0.5, specifically focused really on their AoE. Let's see how their Covenants are doing. Okay, so Kyrian is just good. Necrolord is great. Night Fae is good to great. Ooh, it's getting better. And Venthyr is good. That's for rating. For Mythic Plus then, Kyrian is good. Necrolord is great. Night Fae is good to great, really. And Venthyr is good, but then becomes underwhelming. Ooh, wow. Okay. Vesper Totem and Venthyr are viable, but weaker on single target damage. Okay. Night Fae has the strongest pure single target damage that requires you to commit to single target. Huh. All right. Okay. Naya, most notably through Naya Tool Burrs, is focused on single target damage to the point she falls behind Necrolord options during cleave and AoE. Okay. But you can swap. Crane, a different Soulbind, through First Strike is really good on AoE, but is bad on single target. So you could swap. You could swap for Mythic Plus, which is why Night Fae is still good for Mythic Plus. Okay, makes sense to me. Overwhelmingly Kyrian, actually, with some Venthyr. Huh, pretty cool. For Enhancement Shaman, let's take a look here. Enhancement Venthyr is the best, right? Ooh, Night Fae, actually, for rating is just as good. Necrolord, pretty poor. I did find that I played Necrolord on my Shaman, and for Enhancement, I found it very clunky to weave into the rotation. Kyrian is good. Vesper Totems is good. For AoE, for Mythic Plus, Kyrian is good to very good. Necrolord is average to poor. Yeah, Night Fae is good to good, and Venthyr is very good to excellent. And then for Resto Shaman, Kyrian is good. The other 3 are great for raid, so they're all really good. Wow. And then for Mythic Plus, Kyrian and Night Fae are good, and Necrolord and Venthyr are great. Interesting. Very interesting. Huh. Wow, Night Fae for Resto Shaman has really improved. For Shaman, has really improved. It's really good for Enhancement. It's actually generally good to great for Elemental, and it's still good and great for Resto. Wow. So yeah, Night Fae Shaman, I don't think they particularly exist. But in 9.0.5, you guys, you're coming up in the world. This is a much more viable option now. That's a big change. That is a big change. For me personally, I have to say I do like Necrolord. I do like the Necrolord playstyle. I also do really enjoy Venthyr. So the thing I like about Venthyr is it's just plain and simple. 1.5 minute cooldown, big old cast, and it's basically a really chunky chain lightning comboed with a really chunky chain heal. It does both. It does both. It's amazing. And then for each target you hit, the cooldown gets reduced. Now, it's not good in single target. It falls behind there. But yeah, it's just great. It's really good for enhancement as well, because you can make it instant cast with your Maelstrom weapon. The teleport is quite nice on Shaman as well. They have Ghost Wolf, which is kind of like Soul Shape already. They don't have a long range teleport though, so that's awesome. Man, it's a tough choice. These all look quite solid. They're all quite solid. Necrolord, obviously now with Fleshcraft being a stronger defensive, that's something Shamans lack as well. Man, it's a tough choice. I really like Necrolord, but it's so bad on enhancement. This is what it comes down to for me. I think if you are playing Elemental, and Resto, the casting Shaman, I think Necrolord slightly wins, but Venthyr is a very close set. I don't know. It's kind of a three-way split. You know what? Actually, it's a four-way split. You could go for any of these. I think the one thing I would consider is if I was going to play any enhancement Shaman, I have been there. I have tried to make this ability work in a way that is fun to play. I mean, you could probably make it do good damage, Primordial Wave, but with enhancement Shaman, it's just not fun. It's just not fun. At least not when I played it. Maybe stuff could change. They did buff it, but I don't know, man. Like, if you want to play any enhancement Shaman, I would really try to avoid Necrolord if you can. So that is the one thing I would say with Shaman. The rest of them honestly look pretty good. Kyrian is a bit behind the pack. But yeah, I'm shocked as well by Night Fae. Night Fae is actually a great option. So there are my thoughts on Shaman. My Shaman is currently Necrolord. I might change it though. Genuinely, the decision for which Covenant I might switch my Shaman to is probably, I'm going to be honest, is probably going to be based off of what transmog I like the most. Because I'm not playing my Shaman for any serious content. It's just a bit of fun for like some dungeons and stuff. So yeah. Actually, I tell a lie. It's completely AFK right now. I haven't played it in months. But if I did pick it up, it would be for fun in dungeons. Right. Let's check out Warlocks. 4 Affliction Warlocks. Pretty stark for rating. Night Fae is amazing. Kyrian is great. And the other two, you really probably shouldn't take. For Mythic Plus, Kyrian and Necrolord suck. Night Fae is great. And Venthyr is good. So clear winner here is Night Fae for Affliction Warlocks. No contest. Oh, we're watching Twitch. DMCA. I don't think they would. The YMCA will get us. Right. For Demonology, which I actually really like. That was probably the Warlock spec I enjoyed the gameplay of the most on the beta, which surprised me as well. For them, Necrolord is good. Venthyr is awful. Night Fae is also good. And Kyrian is mediocre. Huh, cool. And then for Mythic Plus, Necrolord and Night Fae are good. Venthyr is awful and Kyrian is mediocre. Now, one thing, yeah, Decimating Bolt. This is what is cool. And this was buffed, guys. This was buffed. This was buffed in 9.0.5. You can see that. Scouring Tithe requires the Warlock to be facing his target. Yeah, whatever. But Decimating Bolt, right? So this one, it's a 45-second cooldown. And it's a big whopping 2.5-second cast. It's kind of slow. But you throw these bolts at your target, right? And it increases the damage of your next 3 Demon Bolts, your next 3 Incinerates if you're Destruction, or your next 3 Shadow Bolts if you're Affliction. And that damage is increased based on the target's missing health. And this has been buffed from 60% up to 100% based on their missing health. So this is quite a bit stronger now in 9.0.5. This was obviously completely brokenly overpowered for most of the beta. Then it got nerfed into the dirt. So it's quite exciting to see this come back to being more relevant. Not good still for Affliction, which is overall probably considered the best Warlock spec. Certainly for rating, it's the best Warlock spec right now. And it's not good for that, but it is good for Demonology. I think that's kind of cool. Go for like a Demon Bolt sort of spec. Quite fun, yeah. Demon Bolt sort of spec. I like that. What about Destruction? Not a spec I particularly enjoy. Ooh, here we go. Kyrian is decent. Venthyr is bad. Necrolord's very strong, and Night Fae's very strong. Kyrian very strong for dungeons. Necrolord's decent. Night Fae's very strong, and Venthyr's decent. Okay, I would say, speaking seriously, let's be honest here. I don't want to say this, but it's the truth. Night Fae is the best option if you want to play Warlock. It's the best. It's the strongest option, or tying for the strongest option for Destro and all content. Same thing for Demonology. Same thing for Affliction. It is the smart choice. If you don't play Affliction, though, man, Necrolord's actually not too bad. Necrolord's not bad. And there's quite a bit of gameplay to Kyrian as well, because Scouring Tithe is quite interesting, right? Where you put a dot on the target for 18 seconds, and if they die while this is on them, you gain 5 soul shards. It fully fills up your soul shards, so you can do some pretty cool plays with that. I think it's pretty fun. Yeah, I think it's pretty fun. So there you go. Interesting choices. Man, that's a tough choice. I think for me, I'm actually working on my Warlock at the moment. And it is Night Fae in the Threads of Fate. I will be honest, though. I think I might switch. I think I might play Necrolord. And I think I might play maybe some Demonology, some Destruction, at least for a bit. And then if I want to play it more seriously, I think I will unfortunately have to switch. I don't want to play Night Fae Warlock, but I think I would swap to it because it would let me play all 3 specs very effectively to their max effectiveness in all content. But I think I will try, even though Necrolord is suboptimal, I love the Cloth Transmog. I like the gameplay. It fits Warlock. It feels good. I would go I'm going Necrolord on my Warlock. And then, but obviously subject to change if I start taking it more seriously. But that's genuinely how I feel right now. I'm switching it. For Arms Warrior then. Ooh, this is interesting. Ooh, he's got a different setup here. I like it. Okay. For Arms, Venthyr is still the best for raid. Night Fae is second. Kyrian is third. And Necrolord is runner up. So Necrolord is the worst. Ooh, this is the interesting thing, though. This is one to watch. We'll come back to this in a second. I was hoping this would be better. For Mythic Plus, Night Fae is best, then Kyrian, then Venthyr, then Necrolord. Huh. So I'd say overall, kind of Night Fae gives you sort of the best of both worlds. What about Fury? Oh, he's got the same layout here. Okay, so for Fury, single target, Venthyr is the best, followed by Night Fae, followed by Kyrian, followed by Necrolord. Then multi-target, Night Fae, followed by Kyrian, followed by Venthyr, followed by Necrolord. Interesting. So it's actually the same. Again, I think Night Fae ironically gives you a good mix. It gives you a really good mix. What about Protection? Protection, save us. Bring us Necrolord. Ooh, they've done it, boys. They've done it. Necrolord, excellent. Kyrian, excellent. Night Fae is great. Venthyr, okay. And then for Mythic Plus, they're all excellent except for Venthyr, which is only okay. Let's check this. I bet, yeah, pretty whopping representation there. Look at that. Night Fae, 7.8. That's going to change then, I think. Considering how versatile Night Fae seems to be, I think that's likely going to change. Night Fae Goblin's a bit of a wild card. It's slightly stronger than Spear of Bastion, pure multi-target. There's a trade-off, no longer cooldown, and a troublesome ground targeted effect. Okay. May end up worse than it seems. Worse than it seems. Okay. The thing that is interesting to me is the redesign to Conqueror's Banner. Yeah. This is what's really interesting. It is the #1 choice among raiding protection warriors. I am curious how this is going to translate into the other warrior specs. The new Conqueror's Banner is not this. So the new Conqueror's Banner is going to be a 2-minute cooldown. And you whip out the banner, and it gives a move speed buff to you and the 2 nearest party members, I think. And it also gives you and the 2 nearest party members 400 mastery. It gives a massive chunk of mastery. I think it's kind of underrated. I'm curious what the way he thinks here. Necrolord's an honorable mention. It's fairly underwhelming for the warrior. The group buff can add up to a very competitive power when buffing the right classes. Does not naturally line up well with cooldowns for arms, but synergizes very well with fire mages, marksmanship hunters, shadow priests as well. I play shadow priests. Give it to me. Could result in even potentially even better total group damage. It's much more prone to failure. Yeah, so it requires coordination. It does require coordination, but here's the thing: everyone is gonna be your best friend if you are a Necrolord warrior. Everyone is going to love you. They're gonna want that banner. They will want that banner. I'm saying Necrolord. I'm calling Necrolord. It's going to do the worst damage for you personally, but that doesn't bother me even slightly. Like, I couldn't care less, to be honest. I could not care less. You know, I play Priest, so you know it's a fact. I play Night Fae Priest, power infusing and buffing other people. I genuinely don't care. I want the most overall damage, because that's what actually matters. I don't care about where I am on the damage meters. I want the group to do what's best. So for me, this banner thing is really appealing and starts to make protection pretty appealing too, especially when you add in the new reprisal rework legendary that they have. Whenever they charge or intervene someone, they get shield block, get a chunk of rage, they get a free cast of revenge as well. It's kind of nuts. So yeah, I'm calling Necrolord. It's clearly the best option for protection, and it's considered the worst option for the DPS specs, but I sort of feel like this may change. Obviously it's worse for you personally, but it looks like it could be, again, with an organized group, which I'd be more so playing with organized groups, of course. It's gonna be good there, I think. So that's sort of my thoughts on that. Yeah, I would go Necrolord. They also have got sick armor and they're badass. Yeah. The group buff is incredibly strong. Interesting. It also looks bad. You get badass banner on your back, and everyone loves you. Everyone loves you. The huggable Necrolord warrior. Yeah. So there you go, guys. They are my thoughts on all of the they're my thoughts on the experts' thoughts on all of the covenants in 9.0.5. Let me know what you think. Are you going to change your covenant for your spec? Were there any choices here that surprised you? Yeah. Any changes that surprised you? Are there any specs that you feel really need to change as well? I'm curious to hear that too. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow when I can actually play 9.0.5 on live servers. Until then, have a good one. Bye-bye.